So we're having the summer of myself, the summer of recognizing how to love myself completely, your own selves completely, how to know how we think and how we feel and what our values are. And we've talked all around this, how to be a beneficial presence, how to set boundaries, how to know the truth about ourselves. And I love that. And so I've spent much of this summer as I look at, what am I going to talk about and what are the guest speakers going to talk about? What do I wish everybody, including myself, knew to the tips of my toes, to the ends of my fingers, and all around? What do I really wish we all understood at the most deep level? And this idea that I am enough is one of those things. We say it, we sing it, and then things pop up, don't they? And so while I was pondering this idea of self-love and supporting the self, I kept hearing stories and reports from our community and from other centers for spiritual living about people who were disappearing from the community for a while because they were sick or hurt, skipping family events because they'd gained weight, fretting the wedding of their children because their ex-husband was going to see that they had aged a few years in the 20 years that they'd been divorced. Right? And thing, people pulling away from the experience of love, from the experience of joy, because they did not think that they were enough, just as they were. And I thought, hey, Leslie, I often start my inner conversations that way. Hey, Leslie, what aren't we connecting here? What's missing? Why are we saying all the right things, and then it doesn't necessarily walk out in life that way? And in the midst of this conversation, I made the brilliant choice to reread the book, The Body Is Not an Apology, by Sonia Renee Taylor. Whew, anybody read that one? It's good, but it's a hard read, right? Like it goes for the heart. So I'm going to give you the softer version of that. But this is the quote that caused me to put down my book and cry for 20 minutes and then pick the book back up. Living in a female body, a black body, an aging body, a fat body, a body with mental illness, is to awaken daily to a planet that expects a certain set of apologies to already live on our tongue. There is a level of not enough or too much sewn into these strands of difference. And I would argue that that list could get longer and longer and longer. Not tall enough, not well enough, to live with a chronic illness, to live with a neurodivergence. This list goes on and on of things that inherently we think we're supposed to apologize for simply to exist, because there is a moral right way and a moral wrong way to be. There's conventional attractiveness, which some of us have and some of us maybe not as much. Facial symmetry, limb differences. There are so many ways in which we can choose to see our body as having abandoned us. So what if our bodies are already whole exactly the way they are? Right now, with the chronic illness, with the age that we've acquired, with the wrinkles, with the weight, with the limb difference, with the neurodivergence, with the mental illness. What if our bodies are not the enemy? I just invite you into the ponderance, because I'm willing to bet there are voices in heads going on right now. You're going to have plenty people to sign up for your workshop, Rachel. There are voices going, but I don't want to have the age. I don't want to have the weight. I don't want to have the illness. I don't want to have the neurodivergence. I don't want to have the mental illness. I'm here to be healed. What if both are true at the same time? We do love a paradox here, a spiritual paradox where two things can be held in truth at the same time. And so I invite you, just for these 20 minutes or so, to contemplate the idea of body neutrality. Neither good nor bad morally, just what is. Just what is. To take into contemplation the idea that our body is whole, just as it is. First, we've got to define wholeness. Because we say it all the time, but we don't define it very often. And I think it's worth going back. So, what is the definition of wholeness? Wholeness is the state of being nothing broken, nothing missing, nothing in us that is outside of the divine, and nothing divine that is not present in us. In Science of Mind, we teach it as a spiritual principle. It's a quality of the divine that is built into all of divine creation. Because what we teach here is that there is divinity that is inherently perfect, inherently whole, and it made everything out of its own self. So it's like saying, if God is the Lego store, because of course, right? If God is the Lego store and it is made of Legos, everything that you make out of those Legos is then made of what? Legos. You're not going to find a wooden block in there. We're the same. If we're made of the divine, then we have to have wholeness as a quality within us all the time. There has to be a piece of us that is inherently whole, that cannot be broken, harmed, taken away, damaged. That is the divine truth. But Leslie, you might say, how can you say I am whole if I have an illness, if I need medicine, if I use a cane or a walker, if I have a neurodivergence severe enough that I have to think differently than typical people? How can you say I am whole? To which I would say, how can you say that you're not? To step out of that realm of wholeness is to play the game of there is an entire planet and all of it is whole, complete, and perfect. And I narrow into my nation, whole, complete, and perfect. My state, my neighborhood, perfect, perfect, perfect. Every person I see, and there's one tiny dot in all the universe that is not whole, and it's me. I'm the special one. Wholeness is inherently right where we are when we say nothing broken, nothing missing. All divine, no divine missing. You know what I didn't say? Never having a symptom. Never needing to do things a little bit differently. See, we confuse wholeness and getting what we want. And we confuse healing with cure. Healing is the cessation, that's backwards. Cure is the cessation of symptoms. It's an effect. It's at the end of the creative process. But healing is systemic. It's in consciousness. Oh, Christopher Reeves comes to mind. Y'all remember Christopher Reeves? He played Superman. He was the epitome of the conventionally attractive, strong, handsome man. That was his pose. And he was in a horseback riding accident that landed him in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of his life. And that man spent the rest of that life sitting alone in a room crying and feeling sorry for himself. No, he did not. He raised money. He did public speaking. He wrote books. He fought for more research for spinal injury healing. He loved his family. He raised his children. He had a beautiful life by his own description. By the time he passed, he said he did not regret his accident. It made him a better, more loving, more powerful, more outward-facing with his love person. Sometimes we do not get what we want, but it is what we need to be the highest expression of who we are meant to be. See, there's nothing inherently moral about the body. Well, we think there is. And my evidence is things like, I was so good, I didn't eat any of the chocolate cake. Or, well, what do you think she did to attract that illness? Anybody ever hear anything like that? Or, if you just had more discipline, you'd get it together. Take a breath. It is absolutely okay if you recognize those kinds of statements on the inside of yourself or even on the outside of yourself. We all live in this culture that definitely applies morality to cases of the body. And we have the choice to see it differently. We have the choice to see it differently. Science of mind is built on a beautiful pair of concepts. Law, which is the way things happen. It's the basis of our prayer style, that we place our thoughts and our beliefs into the law, and mechanistically and impersonally, it brings us back the reflection of what we have thought into it. And we have love, the other half. The consciousness of depth and loving kindness and sweetness and acceptance and understanding that lives in the center of each one of us. And somewhere along the way, in my estimation, we've gotten a little lopsided in how we label these in areas of importance. We're very focused on the law because we want to get stuff done, right? And we want to get it done right, and we want it to be good. Of course we do. We want to manifest what we want in our life. There's nothing wrong with that. But love is just as important. And love is the space in which we find our acceptance of what is and our search for meaning in what is. When they're balanced, things go pretty smoothly, but when they're not, we can find ourselves so focused on the results of our effort. Ever find yourself doing that? I want the results. That we forget to look within to see what beauty is being born within us through the not always exactly what we would have picked. Some people get healing through a cure. But there are lots of things in this world that there isn't a cure for. I have never seen someone grow back an arm. I would definitely want to watch that YouTube video. But I have seen people find tremendous meaning and depth through their experience of learning self-acceptance and learning acceptance of others through the receiving of not quite exactly what I would have wished for. Now, this is a very rebellious talk for a religious scientist minister, for a science of mind minister. So everybody who's like a hardcore, old school science of mind person, take a breath. We're okay. Here's what I'm proposing. In science of mind, we have, well, let's see the slide. We'll quote a brilliant writer. One of the best. I said this to someone this week, and they said, you should write that down. And I was like, I will use it in my talk. And here's what I said. In science of mind, we can get a little too focused on using our tools to fix it instead of using our tools to love it. I'll say it again because I think it's important. God put it in my head for a reason. In science of mind, we can get a little too focused on using our tools to fix it instead of using our tools to love it. It being our bodies, our minds, our health, our consciousness, our relationships. We're lopsided. We need to bring it back into balance. What if we could let go of the judgment of our bodies? What if we could love them exactly the way they are in this moment? That doesn't mean we can't work on change if we feel change is appropriate. But go with me here. Have you ever had someone say something to you like, the clothes you wear are really ugly? Like they don't suit you at all. It's hideous. It's a tragedy. I mean, really, it hurts my heart. I think you're better than that outfit. And thought to yourself, yeah, I could go shopping. No. We go, and then we run straight to the first person who will feel bad for us, and we tell them, and they go, no. Right? It's not inspiring. What if our bodies are the same way? What if saying, oh, for Christ's sake, body of Leslie, drop 15 pounds. You could really stand it. And maybe grow a few inches too, because 5'2" is a little bit pathetic. How inspired does one think I am to then rush off and do those things? And our bodies hear us. Do you think my cells then go, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll drop some calories into the bloodstream and burn off this fat. I have this image in my head of my fat cells sitting in a circle with their arms crossed going, can you believe she said that about us? Like I'm not even allowed to take up my space? Even if we were to go about doing something like trying to lose weight, there is a whole different energy to I'm going to give my body nutritious food and move it in a way that feels delightful than, oh, please, God, just make me thinner. What if we could treat our body with the loving kindness that we would hope someone would treat us? With the loving kindness that we would speak to a small child with? What if? Let yourself feel what that might be like. Because science of mind tells us that we are whole and perfect and complete exactly as we are. It does not say, accept your cellulite and your crow's feet. Accept your chronic asthma. Exactly as you are. Exactly as you are. I know it's a tough pill to swallow in this culture, in this time and space, to lean into. But I think you're tough enough to do it. I really do. So how? How might we start the steps to love our bodies, to love ourselves just the way we are? The first one that I'm going to invite you to consider is to drop body criticism from your conversations, inner and outer, using the kind language about your body and other people's bodies that you would want to hear. Noticing what's going on the inside of your brain and holding that piece of you as accountable as you would if you were talking about somebody else. You know how often we talk up here about using kind words about one another and to one another? What if we turned that inward and used it for ourselves? Even better, real stretch, but I invite you into it with me, refrain from commenting on bodies at all. Because here's the glitch, y'all. Here's the tough spot. You look so gorgeous. And you do. You look really great. But the fact that that exists in my consciousness means that there's a not gorgeous. Ooh, have you lost weight? The unspoken comment, I'd noticed you needed to. I'm so glad you don't use your walker anymore, because it made me uncomfortable seeing you that way. Breathe. What if we just said what we actually mean? I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. I love you. It delights me to see your face. You are wonderful. It's a choice we can make. Another way we can lean into it is to listen to our bodies and make choices that are kind to our bodies. I remember a day, long enough ago that I can tell this story, when I spent a good, I'm going to say 30 minutes trying to get into a pair of jeans that did not want to go on me, and my body did not want them. And as I laid there, because if you know, you know, it starts here and it ends up kind of here, and then you're on the bed, right? With the bounce button, this thing, right? If you don't know, bless your sweethearts. But if you do, and my husband, who gets somehow cited in every message, said so sweetly, or you could wear different pants. And he was so right. He was so right. What if when something didn't fit, we just put on something that did? What if when we hit that wall that causes us to start doing something or saying something to our body that our body clearly doesn't want, we just made a different choice that felt better? And finally, we can use our science of mind tools, our prayers, our affirmations, our meditations, our consciousness, our self-reflection to reframe the way we think about our bodies, to use our tools to love ourselves the way that we are. You know what happens when people really love themselves the way that they are? There is such ease and peace in that moment. Try to go there in your mind with me, to loving yourself completely, exactly the way you are in this moment, and feel into how much energy that frees up. Our world needs your love, your energy, your consciousness. It is better used praying in peace and loving one another than minding the size of your thighs or having to take one medication or two medications. So I invite you back into awareness with me as we lean into the classic quote from Ernest Holmes that every practitioner is forced to memorize against their will. There is nothing to heal, only wholeness to be revealed. And that wholeness is already yours. The invitation this week, lean into that wholeness. Call forth that self-love. Take one small step to love yourself the way you are right now. And so it is. Let's anchor that in with some prayer. How good it is to lean into this idea that we are not mistakes, that Infinite Spirit has created each one of us whole and perfect and complete the way we are right now. That our bodies are not an enemy. They're a vehicle that we use to reveal the power of love in the world. How good it is to know that there is this infinite power right where we each are. That whatever we brought into this space this day, Spirit is already working on it. That there is an elegant path to healing and the revelation of wholeness that the entire universe is conspiring on for us. How good it is to know that we have these tools, that we can connect on the inside of ourselves with the God of our own individual understanding, and that it is right there, lifting us up from the inside. And so I know for each one of us, exactly the healing we seek, that it is happening right here, right now, and it is profoundly good. And so it is.